Hello and welcome to the Legends of Tabletop podcast. We are surprisingly enough not doing an actual play tonight, but I do have Oscar Rios with me to talk about their current Kickstarter for Island of Ignorance. Oscar, how you doing?
Hello everyone. If anyone's ever done a Kickstarter and gotten to week 3, then you know exactly how I'm doing. Uh, I'm
It,
tired. I'm stressed. I'm happy. I'm grateful. I can't wait till Monday, till midnight Saturday night for this all to be over.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster running a Kickstarter.
Lots of ups and downs. It's you're in for the long haul.
Right. But also this is way more emotional than most of the Kickstarters I've done, and God forgive me, I think this is number 18. Um, because we're literally re-releasing and updating our very first book, and hopefully creating a sequel to it. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of history. I'm working with authors that, God willing, I'll be working with authors that were in the original book. We're trying, and some new younger talented authors that we're fostering and giving a platform to spread their wings and be mentored. So yeah, it's a lot riding on this. Um, I mean, there always is when you launch
Right.
a Kickstarter. You're always, you're just full of hopes and dreams, and then by the end, you're just literally crawling across the finish line.
Yeah. Well, and especially for a small company too, right? Like this is, you're not only, trying to fund the book so we get this out, but it's also like, hey, we've got a little bit of a war chest to go into the next thing, so I can, pay for some art up front, so we can, get grease some of the skids, kind of get things moving along. It's so it's not just about this one; it's about the next one that's coming up.
Right, right. So yeah, it's important. It's very expensive to maintain a company, even when you're not writing or working on a new book. Just the regular day-to-day expenses of the business.
Right.
Keeping the lights on at GGP. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, we did manage to fund a project solely from our war chest from for the first time ever, over this over the spring,
Mm.
with caveat emptor. But that was a very, very small book that we were just trying to see, could we do something without a Kickstarter? And yeah, we've proven that we can. But on the other hand, I think that book went, uh, for the most part, pretty unnoticed. I think a lot of people find out about new products through Kickstarter.
Right.
So had I done a Kickstarter for it, I think that the book would have been way more successful financially. But I'm still proud of it. And as an experiment, you have to try these things to learn, when you're a small company.
Right. Right. So, do you ever get any pushback as far as like Kickstarter fatigue sort of thing, or because you're looking to put out a book? I mean, just about every year, right? So some sort of a project.
Right, right. Well, I kind of have to support my license. If I don't put out an Invictus title every year, I could lose control of the setting from Chaosium. So it's part of my contracted agreement that I will keep cranking out material,
Right.
which usually isn't a problem, especially if you consider, oh, you can do a small thing. But yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't want to do another Kickstarter. um, but when you're a small company without much of a war chest, and you have a full-time job and adult responsibilities outside of your small publishing house, you have to live in reality. What you produce may be based in fantasy, but you have to live, in reality as a publisher and a creator.
Right. Right. So I knew that Island of Ignorance is one of the first ones. I didn't realize it was the
The
first book.
very first one, the
That's
very
really cool.
first one.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, when I was just starting out and I finally was in control of my own company, and get to choose the course of what project we're going to do, I had such fond memories of the first two Cthulhu companions, Fragments of Fear and the Cthulhu Companion, and just a collection of short adventures, interesting articles. Kind of like, for me, it was like that warm, comforting chicken pot pie of mythos. It was a little bit of everything mixed in, and just perfect for, oh, I'll run this one, I'll drop this, thing from this article into my campaign. Here's a good resource for writing adventures. So when they decided, well, what's our first project going to be? I said, wouldn't it be cool if they had kept doing uh, Cthulhu Companion.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I can do one. It's just short scenarios and articles, and foolishly thinking, oh, how hard could it be? Um, and looking back, 11 years, I think 11 years. Um, it was good that I didn't know how hard it would be. And it was good that I didn't know all the things that I didn't know, because I would have run screaming from this.
Hmm.
But then I was in it, and after 2 or 3 projects, I started learning, and okay. But yeah, the book always had a very special place in my heart. And what was funny is, like, a lot of us, we were at a point in our career where we were just coming on the scene, and now a lot of us are like any award-winning guys.
Right. Right.
So it's like, oh, so we're getting the old team back together, and we're not scrubs anymore. Now we kind of know what we're doing.
Right. Right.
So that's a lot of fun.
So what are we looking at with the new book? So are the scenarios going to be re-edited, tightened up, cleaned up, expanded, anything like that?
Everything has to be updated for 7th edition, because we
Right.
produced it using the 6th edition rule set, because 7th edition hadn't come out yet.
Right.
And really, people have wanted to reorder it. Stores have wanted to reorder it, and I just didn't want to invest in a major reprint, a restock order, when it was an out-of-date book.
Right.
So we've wanted to update it and re-edit it for many, many years. But that takes a considerable amount of time and money and effort. Because a lot of it's stuff I can't do. I'd like some new art. I'd like to. We need to get a new layout, and I can't do layout. I mean, but luckily I know people who can. But nobody's going to work for free, so we needed a budget to reprint. And luckily we made it pretty quickly.
Right. Right. All right, well that's cool. And so new art then. So I'm reading through the intro paragraph here. There is custom handouts by the HP Lovecraft Historical Society with this?
Yes, because they were just starting out too, and I could afford them back then. That that is no longer the case. They've really, their star has risen, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have custom handouts by them, and some of the people here might have gotten to see them on the actual play of Lonely Point Lighthouse.
Oh yeah, that we did.
Yes.
Nice, cool. So Kickstarter's fully 212% funded or something like that. So
Yes.
ready to go. Like it's
218 at this point, I think.
Hmm.
Let me double check, because I haven't really checked it in the last 5
10 minutes.
It's rough. Yeah, it's 218.
Right. Okay. Nice.
To get where I really want to be, I need it to be at 220, and then 225, and then hopefully 228. That'll unlock all of the stretch goals I'm really, really excited to. But that may be a bridge too far. We've got 5 days left and a lot of ground to cover. It's not impossible, but I'm I'm happy with where we are.
Right.
That's not to say I didn't experience all the levels of the levels of mourning.
Right.
So I'm now in the acceptance phase that this is going to be what it's going to be, and it's going to be fine.
Well,
You don't want to let people down. You don't, like, authors have started working even though I told them not to.
right.
Others are waiting in the wings. Everybody's really super excited. Ruben's super excited to ink the new cover and dive into a whole new set of art. Um, it's just a lot of pressure, and everybody in the team is always like, it's not on you. You know what you signed up for. It's fine, but when the buck stops with you, it's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Right. Well, but at least you don't have to worry about funding. Like that's
No, yeah,
fantastic.
and
You're
I didn't. By the end of the first day, I didn't have to worry about funding.
right.
So we made the money to do what we wanted to do initially, and everything else is just cool extra stuff. And
Right.
there's a
Right.
lot of cool extra stuff already covered. We've
Mm-hmm.
crossed a lot of really exciting stretch goals.
Yep. We got stickers. We got the Legacy of Shadow PDF unlocked. We've got Welcome to Dean's Corner. Come with the original map, some NPCs, background history, Legacy of Shadows physical copies, cover art prints, and so close to Stretch Goal 6 Dark Seas of Infinity, which is another book that come on, we gotta we gotta get
Yeah,
to it. Like I'm super stoked for, and the art. I mean, I really want that more for the cover art than anything because it
oh,
takes
it looks amazing.
the.
Uh,
Do you want to tell a story then? Because you're gonna tell it better than me.
okay, so we really love our first cover, and um, after our first book, we started working with Mark Shireman, who said, "Well, we need a cohesive brand identity." And back then, I was like, "Oh, what's that?" Um, you know, we just wanted our books to have like a uniform look. So if you line up all of our books, it's like Golden Goblin Press, Golden Goblin Press, Golden Goblin Press. Who did that? It doesn't have the same look or feel. So just redesigning the original cover was a big deal, to
Hmm.
get it um, in that feel. And we always loved, the librarian on the desk with the pistol and the bat and the gun. Um, so I thought, well, if we're going to do a fourth Invictus, Cthulhu, I keep saying Invictus, so I got to get out of that mindset. Um, when we decided maybe we could actually even do a fourth Cthulhu companion, it was like, well, we got to bring her back. We have to bring her back. She's like our face of GGP's Cthulhu companions. So I thought, well, what would be interesting if we do um, that same woman in that same situation, except 10 minutes later. And we had some really cool sketches. We had one of her trying to jump out the window. We had one of her hiding under a desk as the tentacles are swarming around her. She's reaching for her gun. But the one, of course, we settled on was her fighting her way down the stairs, a little disheveled, with the bat, as the house seems to come alive around her. So I'm really, really excited about that. And what's really cool is that if we do unlock it, or I should say, when we unlock it,
Hmm.
since we've already unlocked 8x10 art prints, we'll be printing 8x10 art prints of that cover as well.
Hell yeah.
So like that previously unlocked stretch goal will just double in value. Um, so we'll be doing both covers. And we joked, if we do a third one, what's it going to be? And like, oh, her making a basket in a wheelchair in some institution somewhere. Um, but yeah, even the title is the second half of the Lovecraft quote. We live on an island of ignorance amid dark. Mankind dwells on an island of ignorance amid dark seas of infinity. So the cover was kind of like just waiting, waiting in the ether. Like, when are you going to get to me? I'm right here. Are we doing this? And yeah, we're trying. We're
Yeah.
trying to do this.
Yeah. Ruben's art is fantastic, and
Oh,
that
and he's
second cover
itching.
is
He's
just
raring to go.
yeah.
He's actually doing a cover for which I've released the sketch of on a backer update. He's doing a cover for the Legacy of Shadows with the same librarian.
Nice. Very cool. And I see that in that stretch goal number 6, a familiar a PC, or in this case NPC, Vivian Shaw. That's our Viv, I guess, right? Is
Hold
that
on.
Lisa's?
Um, Was it Vivian Shaw?
Yeah,
I would
under
have to double check.
yeah
Uh, where are you finding that? I've got this Kickstarter page open.
under stretch goal number 6. After it gives a description of the scenarios, it says 6 new investigators, and one of them is Vivian, who is a
Oh, the
nurse.
nurse.
So
Yes,
I
yes, of course.
nice.
Now that I see it, yeah, we're definitely going to do the nurse. We always felt like there were certain characters that really should have been there, but we had 18. That's a lot of pre-gens, but I love pre-gens. I love running at cons and giving people a wealth of choices and options when they're picking their NPCs,
Hmm.
their pre-gens.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, happy to see her in print now.
Yes, yes.
Or soon to be, I guess. Nice. What else is going on over there with Golden Goblin? What's the status of things? What are you looking forward to?
We're looking forward to this Kickstarter being over. We're looking forward to the end of summer because my den gets oppressively hot in the summer. So when warm weather comes, I'll be a lot more comfortable in my workspace without having to run an AC 24/7. Heat rises, and I'm on the third floor of my home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Definitely looking forward to getting the home office in order. It's kind of a wreck right now. We're connected to a very uh, overcrowded attic that we've slowly finally started to clean out, but it's a process. And the overflow of the mess just spills into my attic. So it's one of the things I want to do when it's cool enough to actually work in the attic to start clearing it out, make the home office a little bit more livable. We're close to finishing up the Legacy of Arius Lurko. Um, it's already been edited, proofread. We're knitting it together into a complete manuscript. We hope to have it in layout before the end of the year. That one's been lingering due to all of my health issues last year.
Right, right.
But yeah, Lisa's hard at work at that, and so that's exciting. Redoing this project, I've already started working on it. Um, I've actually found a copy of Island of Ignorance that was too damaged to sell.
Hmm.
I had one good copy, and it's like the only one, and I'm like, I really don't want to, put highlights and mark up all of this. Um, I don't want to destroy the last good copy. I'd like to keep it for historical purposes.
Yeah, no, for
And then
sure.
um, and then I found this beat up one, and I'm like, oh, we have our sacrifice. And I immediately got the highlighters out, and I think I'm already through. I've highlighted all of the articles where things need to be updated for seventh edition, and
Mm.
maybe two of the scenarios. So it's going, it's going.
Okay,
And
nice.
I've picked the four monsters that are going to be in that. I rewrote it. I rewrote them. Uh, you know, we were able to get a handful of monsters from my Octobernomicon submission.
Right.
1 second. Matt Wiseman was kind enough to let us repossess, I should say, some of the material we donated over the years. So I picked four creatures that appear human and are anything but. So it's going
Mm.
to be called, uh, those of the valley, referring to the uncanny valley. Something that's almost quite human. It's so human looking. There's just something off about it.
Right.
So we're excited about that. Um, I pulled up the file for Dean's Corner and I started working on it. And that was something I wrote before Golden Goblin Press. That was supposed to be a MRP for those old gamers who remember MRP. That was something I wrote back for MRP. And if you've ever gone back and read something you wrote 15 years ago, ooh, that is that's a tough day. So I am doing a line by line edit, which probably I should have just started from scratch and just, but it's going well. I'm doing a severe edit. I had an idea of how many pages it was, and I was really wrong.
Mm.
It was 170% larger than I remembered.
Oh.
So it was almost triple the size I thought it was, and I'm like, oh, I've gotta cut this. I've got to put this elephant on a diet.
Hmm.
So I'm editing and cutting and slashing and condensing, but luckily I have 15 years of experience that now I know how to do that easier. Um,
Right.
but it's a lot of what the hell was I thinking moments. But in my hope is that in 10 or 15 years I'll look at the stuff I was writing now and feel the exact same way.
Hmm.
As an artist, you always want to be pushing and growing and expanding your skill set and improving. Um, and reading Dean's Corner really showed me how far I've come. But that doesn't mean I'm good. It just means I'm better.
Right. 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 It's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, to myself.
Nice. I'm still looking at. I'm going back and forth to the Kickstarter. So there's a bonus item. Thank you to the backers. There's a collection of 5 scenarios: Hourglass, Goblin on Bourbon Street, Chicken Mary Hawk, Denier, Mystery of April Snow, and Girl in the Pines, which you can find here. Well, if you're gonna play it, maybe don't listen to it, but you could find it on the stream here.
Right. That technically was released already through Necronomicon souvenir book in 2022, and they were gracious enough to say, "Yeah, sure, we never owned it. You donated it. We never paid you for it. So if whatever you want to do with it, go right ahead." I was like, "Yes, I really do enjoy that scenario. So I'd love to see it um, get a wider release than just the souvenir book."
Right, right. And
Um,
that's become part of our canon now for our ongoing campaign,
yeah,
which is really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I've got a. I the the lady from the Pines is definitely on my eventually list of what's going to happen after.
Right.
But I don't want to post any. I don't want to talk about any spoilers. But it's. I'm very proud of it. It's when I was named gaming guest of honor in 2022, there was a lot of pressure to really donate a scenario that was something special.
Hmm.
And I literally started 5 different scenarios and then scrapped them because I was like, I can't make this work in the limited words they gave me. And I was like, I want to do something new. I want to do something different. I want to do something outside of my comfort zone. And then finally, I just stopped hurting myself and said, they named you as gaming guest of honor, so they want a scenario in your signature style. So just write whatever the hell story you would most enjoy writing. Lean into whatever you enjoy doing.
Hmm.
And I did. I got out of my own way. I stopped trying to be fancy, and just I'm going to give them the best Oscar Rio scenario I can manage. Um, and that's not to say it's good. It's just I'm very happy with it. I think it plays very well. I think it hits all of the notes I like to bring to the table in one of my games.
Hmm. Yep. Creepy. It has a moral quandary. Like and it's it's not a huge scenario, right? Like, I mean, we did it
No,
as a
it's
con. We
very
played it
short.
in a couple hours, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was that's the first time that we played together. As much as we play, it's the first time we got to play
Face
together in
to face.
person.
Yeah, that was a trip.
Yeah. So that one will always be special for me because that's the first time that we did the thing,
Right, right.
which was cool. And speaking of, we just got back from Necronomicon. So how was your Necro experience this year?
It was good. I mean, it was physically exhausting. I'm still technically in my 1 year recovery from all of the surgeries I had in 2023. So I'm not all the way where I should be yet. And honestly, I could take better care of myself. So I'm out of shape and, still rehabbing the hip. So getting around was a little bit difficult, but um, when the surgeon tells you, yeah, there's an outside chance, you might wake up from anesthesia without a leg. Um,
Jeez.
Anything that happens after that point Anything north of that is gold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so every step may take, but I have two legs to take. Every step may hurt, but I've got two legs to take steps. And people who saw me a few months ago, were like, wow, Oscar's hobbling around faster than he was a few months ago. So that was nice.
Yeah.
Um, didn't get to the dealer's room as much as I have liked. Ran my games, and just there were times where the wife and I were like, "Hey, we're gonna go do this, we're gonna do that," and then at the end of the day, we're like, "We're going to go back to the room,
Yeah.
and we're gonna take a shower, and we're gonna lay down." So yeah, there were nights where we were like just too exhausted to do stuff, but we went to the Eldritch Ball with a bunch of people dressed as farmers. And that was a trip. That was a really. I've been to quite a few Eldritch Balls. This is the one I enjoyed the most,
Oh, nice.
and we happened to be there during River Fire. We got to see that, which was great.
I
Yeah,
missed it.
we had. I ran three really great games, and I took part in a bunch of interesting panels. So, mission accomplished. How
Yeah.
was your con?
Good. It was good. It was a little bit more low key to some extent this year. Like usually I'll record a bunch of panels and, try to run around. And I didn't do any of that this year. Like I just went to the con and, sort of as just a regular con goer experience
It's
as
good to
opposed to
do that
going and trying
too.
to work. you like,
Yeah, I dream about doing that, but
yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. Um,
Well, I mean,
I'm
I
like
brought
an
my,
alcoholic for running games. It's like
yeah,
I tell myself I'm not going to drink. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have 2 beers, and then 3 a.m. We're driving to Florida. No.
right. Yeah.
If I went to a con without any plans of running a game, I'm sure I wouldn't be there 3 hours wishing I had brought stuff and signed up to run games. It's just what I enjoy doing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it was for me like every year, like it's the hangout, right? Like it's just being able to see everybody and going out for a couple beers, grabbing some food, just kind of like aimlessly walking around Providence. It's that's the whole thing for me. So I missed the water fire because John came up, my buddy John came up Saturday afternoon, and then Jesse came up Saturday night. So we went to the malted barley, and we were there from I don't know, from like 6 till like 1:30 in the morning. Like we
Yeah,
never left. We just because I only get to see them in person every other year at
right,
Necro.
right,
So like when they're like, hey, we're gonna be here at this time, like I'm out. Like
right.
convention
You,
stuff is
you'll
over.
you'll you'll sleep on Monday.
Yeah. Well, so Friday night, I went back to the room a little bit early so I could sleep in because I knew it'd be out late Saturday. Thursday afternoon, I went back to the room for a little bit, just sort of decompress, and just because it's a lot of FaceTime.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people. I mean, relatively a lot of people, right? Like it's not Gen Con, a lot of people,
Right,
but
right.
more so than you're going to encounter like on a normal, on a normal day. And like for me, because I work in a lab, so I'm by myself, and then I come home and the kids are doing their thing, and I'm, they're here, but I'm kind of by myself. So then it's like everybody. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the room for a
Yeah,
little
it
bit.
can it can be very taxing on your social battery.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, there are moments when you just want to sit in your quiet room eating pretzel rods and you know Reese's Pieces for half an hour,
yeah.
just with no one.
But I did get the game with Phil, Phil and Scott, the guy who runs Rising Phoenix.
Cool.
Matt Doc Tracy ran his scenario Light in the Trees, available on Miskatonic Repository. I should probably stick a link in the show notes. And that was a lot of fun. The first time I got to meet Matt, we share a couple of Discords together. And I didn't realize Phil was in the game. So I, seen Phil while we were out and about. And then, Friday morning I turned up at the table and there he is. And I was like, oh
Mhm.
shit, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of that. You do run into lots of people that you've gamed with either at other cons or virtually, and this is your first time seeing them face to face.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see a lot of familiar faces, and they were like, "Oh, I played with you. I played a game with you back in Necronomicon 2013. I've been trying to get a slot ever since.
Yeah.
I keep getting locked out." And I'm like, I'm getting an Oscars game. It's so flattering, and it really does a lot to erase that imposter syndrome.
Hmm. Right.
But it's great because the players at Necronomicon tend to be either really good or I get the good ones. I don't know how
Yeah.
everybody else is. But all of the players I get are usually solid. I think
Yeah.
there's, just been like one or two players that have been
Oh,
less
we had one.
than A grade. We're not bringing that up. Um, but usually it's like, if you watch anime, it's like the Adventurers Guild. These are A class investigators.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you see them in, you may run games for me, I go to like 5 or 6, 4 to 6 cons a year. So I'm literally seeing so many different faces. But the really good players, the ones that made an impact, always stick out in your memory. And then when you see
Hmm.
them, walking up to your table, you're like, "Oh, I remember that one, and I
Right.
remember this guy, I remember that girl. She's awesome." And there's a chance for you to play with people you've never played with before, who doesn't turn out to be awesome, and you add to that roster of awesome players you've gotten to play with.
Hmm. We had a woman show up to Matt's game. Her first Call of Cthulhu game was the night before,
Hmm.
and this was the first convention she was ever at, and she was great. Like she
Yeah,
was just like in the character. Like it was beautiful. It was great to be a part of her experience to come to a convention and then have a good table like that, and like be wasn't like timid or whatever. Like she was just she was in it. And I was like, that's fucking cool.
right. The Gen Xers will get this. Was she in a bee costume?
No.
The blind melon video with the little
Yeah.
girl in the bee costume, and then she finds all the other lunatics in their bee costumes. It's like she found her tribe. She found.
Yeah.
That's always a great moment to see.
And it was funny. I was either coming up or going down in the elevator with Jesse, and we must have been going down. We walked in, and she was in the elevator. I was like, "Oh, that's who I was talking about." She was like, "What?"
Yeah, people tend to be really, really friendly at Necronomicon. They tend to be great players. They tend to be very generous, warm. They tend to have better hygiene than most cons.
Well,
Um,
yeah, it's an older crowd, like middle-aged ish crowd.
there are a lot of people who, I don't know, what do 20-year-olds even look like at this point?
I don't know. So like from like 20 to 50, everybody's the same age to me now. Like they all
Mm,
just kind of.
right, right. But yeah, there's not a lot of children running around Necronomicon unless they're in carriages or uh, baby carries.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
and people that are into horror like that, like it's a different kind of player to some degree,
mhm.
as opposed to like your D&D player or not that there's anything wrong with whatever. I mean, Watsy can eat a dick, but horror is a different mindset to sit at the table and play. Right? Like it's just a
Right.
different thing.
Because you want to be in a situation where winning is not guaranteed. That
Hmm.
it's not a game for power fantasy.
Right.
It's a game where you're exploring the nature of fear, human mortality, the nature of heroism, um, versus I'm going to kill all these goblins and steal all their stuff and save the princess and be a fucking hero. If
Right.
you're a hero in Call of Cthulhu, you're lying to the police. You're not giving a statement to the newspapers. As soon as everything's gone, you're trying to melt away so that nobody ever realizes you had anything to do with anything. The winning in Call of Cthulhu means that no one ever realizes the heroism that you've done. You've
Hmm.
protected, you've protected mankind, and you've shouldered that weight on behalf of the entire human race. And maybe you're never going to be the same again,
Yeah.
but other people won't have to suffer what you've done. To be a heroic investigator is to be unsung, and that's the nature you know, combating cosmic horror on a regular basis.
Yeah. And then I'm gonna say that's the fun part, but I mean that is kind of the fun part of it, right? Like that moral ambiguity, that forever downward spiral. Although, I mean, even with our Invictus characters, when we succeed, and we succeed, I don't know that we've ever really failed, right? I mean, we've come close a couple of times we lost Jesse, right? I mean, we did.
I think Jesse might disagree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, fair. That's
When
fair.
he was
That's
killed
fair.
by an undead bear, and then
But
replaced with a changeling.
but when we do succeed and get those sanity rewards, it does kind of keep us in a in a fairly even keel, right? So
But
like,
Invictus investigators are very different than 1920s or the other era, or maybe not Dark Ages so much, because the worldview believes in monsters and
true,
magic, and in Roman times, there's even laws on the book that you can bring a sorcerer to court. If you can prove they're a sorcerer, they'll be arrested and executed.
right?
But in 1920s and modern time and most other forms of Call of Cthulhu, you have to do all of this, um, and knowing that if I tell the police the truth, I'm probably going to either end up in jail or an asylum.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's what I really like about Delta Green too. It's just that there is no bump back up, right? Like it's just a forever downward spiral.
Right, right,
I enjoy that. I don't know what that says about me, but
right. So yeah, so to get back to the Kickstarter a bit, so we finally settled on the initial 4 articles, and we have authors ready to do them. Miraculously, I'm not writing any of them, which I'm really happy about.
there you go.
Um, so we're having a gigantic 1920s name and surname generator,
Oh, nice.
based on census records, just to quickly randomly roll up NPC names. We're doing another Keeper support article, and it's going to be a list of popular books, movies, radio shows, or something else. Books, movies, and songs
Hmm.
uh, from the 1920 to 1929. I always find it interesting when players are like, "Well, you know, we've had dinner at the diner. We're definitely not going to the haunted house at 10 o'clock at 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
It's too early to turn in. What do you want to do?" Like, "Oh, let's go to the movies." And then I go to the internet and I find a movie that was playing in 1923, and I'm like, "Oh, you can go see Nosferatu, or you can
Well,
go see The Thief of Baghdad."
that came up in our game.
Yeah, that
The
came up.
the Nosferatu.
Right, and that's really cool because it grounds you. It suddenly grounds you in reality. You're like, "Oh shit, I've seen this movie in real
Yeah.
life. This is not fiction." Or and basically having that at your disposal, having like 5 or 6 books that were popular in 1926, and like, oh, the person's on the bench reading a book, and some did. Oh, what book are they reading? And you're like, oh.
Right.
So this way you have all of this material there. Oh, there's something on the radio. What's on the radio? You're like, oh.
Right.
So now that's going to be all kind of at your fingertips. So excited for those two. We've commissioned an article on immigrant investigators,
Oh, nice.
where we're going to talk about the major immigrant groups coming into the United States. We're going to have 2 experienced investigator backgrounds of immigrant and first generation. And then we're going to have name generators for like the 5 most common immigrant groups in America during the 1920s. Just so that Polish butcher is not named Bob.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you'll get a lot of And I was checking. There's a lot of Eastern European immigration in the 1920s. So there'll be a lot of Vladimirs and Borises and Tatianas and all of that. So it'll be really cool. And the other one is one that we're all really excited about, and John Hook's so excited about. He's already turned in his assignment, and the Kickstarter is not even over. We haven't even unlocked it, but he's written his scenario and his contribution, and it's going to be called All Sales Final,
Hmm.
and it's a collection of dangerous mythos items that you could find at a antique shop, a curio shop, a swap meet, an estate sale, a flea market, a garage sale, just random stuff.
I like
And
that.
all of the authors are being invited to create an item. Hopefully, they'll stay in the word limit, Jeff. Um, but we already have two. I have mine concept out, and I called dibs. And John Hook has this. John Hook has an antique pipe, um, carved into the shape of a wolf's head.
Hmm.
That's not ominous at all. And I'm doing a trifold dressing mirror,
Hmm.
which I'm like, hey, are trifold dressing mirrors period the 1920s? And did my research, like, oh, they've been around since like the 1800s. This is cool. So yeah, two of the items so far are a dressing mirror and an antique pipe.
Nice.
So yeah, and every author has been invited to write one. So that'll be the fourth initial article for Dark Seas of Infinity with our three adventures. But with further stretch goals, there'll be two more articles. There'll be two more scenarios, and hopefully uh, two between two and four more NPCs. Um, One of the stretch goals I came up with for like a possible stretch goal, but where are we? We have 8 stretch goals set. So I don't know if we'll make beyond those 8. But one of the things I was thinking of doing was creating 4 more NPCs that are members of a expedition. So they'd be like mechanic, explorer, pilot, and museum curator. And then for shits and giggles, stat out the Mongolian deathworm.
Nice.
I've always been fascinated with the. I think it was Chapman, the archaeologist, who went to Mongolia looking for fossils. Um, and it was like the first time an archaeological dig went out, and they were all in trucks. They weren't in like camels or horses and stuff. Um, and he ended up finding the first evidence of dinosaurs laying eggs.
Hmm.
And he wasn't looking for that; he just happened to find it. And then
Right.
he heard tales from the locals that, oh, this is a dangerous stretch of desert. This is where the Mongolian deathworm lives. And he's like, the who what now? Um, so I've always been fascinated by that PC. So I thought of a stretch goal doing 4 new pre-gens and the write-up of the monster they might encounter.
That's
And
cool.
everybody always says, oh, there's an option for buying an airplane on the character sheet. Maybe I'll buy an airplane. And I go, do you know how to fly an airplane?
You're right.
And I put that option on the character sheet, on the equipment checklist, just for scale. And
Hmm.
I've deliberately never given any character skill in piloting. Um,
Right.
so now I kind of feel like, oh, I have to. So I've already come up with her name. She's going to be Penelope Falcon. And she, her dad used to be a barnstormer, so now she's like one of these, stunt aviators, doing air shows and working odd jobs in her plane. So she'll be an interesting. And everybody's always clamored for a mechanic. I don't know how many people have said we really need to have a mechanic in this roster. And yeah, it would be very very useful.
Yeah. 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 For sure. Huh. Interesting. I'd never considered playing a mechanic before, but yeah, depending on your scenario, super helpful.
Right. I wish I had included him in the first round of pre-gens that we're going to do for the main book. But I was happy. Like I've always wanted to have a firefighter. I've always wanted to have a confidence person, a grifter. Um, and definitely always wanted to do like a bartender, especially when I learned from the history that when Prohibition hit, a lot of the bartenders became soda jerks
Hmm.
because their bars became ice cream parlors.
Right.
So I'm gonna make this guy like he's scooping ice cream and making root beer floats by day, and then he's mixing up Manhattans and bees knees in a speakeasy at night. He probably
Right.
sleeps about 5 hours a week, and goes through 7 packs of cigarettes. Like I just picture this guy in my head. So
Yeah. Well, they can't deal out alcohol, but they give you cocaine with your soda.
oh yeah, and it's funny. Jeff's scenario is based on a lot of the medical quackery. Um, and so it's his scenario is set in alternative medical symposium in Miskatonic University in Arkham.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's just screaming, you know, body horror and weird science. And he's amazing. He does so much research. He really nails the history. So I think that scenario is going to be something special. Um, I've been working. Had the pleasure to just vibe with John Hook about his scenario idea.
Hmm.
Like he presented his idea, and I'm like, can I just throw out some comments and don't take it? He's like, no, come on, let's hear it. And I'm like, what'd be really cool? And I would say this, and he goes, oh, and then we could do this, which would build on the cool idea and make it even cooler. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And he goes, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, what'd be really cool if we did this? And he goes, oh, I definitely believe that. So we just kind of vibed, and I let him read my scenario because I'm criticizing the other two authors for already working on their scenarios when mine is done. So Mr. Black Kettle, white courtesy phone. So I gave him I said, I know I kind of, you know, inserted myself into your work. He goes, no, it's great. I love a collaboration. I'm like, so why don't you read mine and give me any pointers? And he read it and he's like, everyone's going to die in this scene. You've got to go back and make it more survivable. I don't see many of my players getting past that point. And I'm like, okay, I'll take another one. And in all fairness, he's right, and I had to go back and rewrite that scene already once to make it more survivable. So I'm not sure if I sent him the first draft or the second draft.
Oh.
So I've got to check which copy he got, and if he's got my revised, more survivable version, I've got to go back and create that scene a third time to make it a little less lethal. I mean,
Right.
we don't want to spoon feed anybody, but we don't want TPKs, mid narrative.
Right.
So yeah, we're really excited about Dark Season Infinity, and the stretch goals that we're struggling to unlock before the clock runs out. We have another scenario by Mark Shireman, who, in my opinion, had the most chilling scenario in the original book. Let the Children Come to Me. He doesn't write a lot. He's our layout guy. He's our graphic designer. He's our art designer. But I originally met him when he was part of PST Productions, which is a Cthulhu Live group out of New Jersey.
Oh.
And so he made some amazing scenarios. So I invited him back, and he was like, "Yeah, I can come up with something." So he's actually going to take a LARP that was very successful and turn it into a tabletop scenario. So I'm really excited to have him back, and then I'm absolutely thrilled that Scott David Anielowski, one of the Golden Age greats, has agreed to be stretch goal 8 with a scenario we tried to unlock as a stretch goal several years ago in an Inner Darkness, and we didn't unlock it. I'm totally going to feel like a dick if we don't unlock it this time again, after I literally begged him to write it. And I said, "Hey, did you ever write it and do anything with that idea?" And he said, "No, I never wrote it when we didn't unlock it. When there was no point." And I was like, "Well, the Kickstarter's doing well. We may need some stretch goals." And I cajoled him to commit to it. That's the Blood Red Mill. It's about a murder on Miskatonic University and revenge.
Right.
And it has there's a lot of good social commentary for the 1920s there. So I'm really quite hopeful that we can make it that far.
Yeah,
But we'll
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, distance-wise in funding, it's not that far away,
Right.
but it is week 3, and
coming into the home stretch.
Yeah, we'll see how much steam we have left in this locomotive.
Well, usually there's a bit of a bump again at the end, right? Like you get a big
Yeah,
bump in the beginning, kind of the doldrums in the middle, and then, kind of picks up again towards the end of it.
right, right. This time it's been weird. We've had several marketing pushes, so we've had like upticks along the way. So it hasn't been like a bell curve. It's been, like an irregular heartbeat for the last couple of weeks, but not bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, 5 days left. Look, you can get into this thing. $30 will get you the PDF, Haunted Witness, reward level, unlock the
But
digital stretch goals.
and keep in mind, for $30, you're getting the original updated book and a second book with five of our scenarios, four monsters, and a setting. So that's
Hmm.
going to be, its own book, and that's already in production. The cover's sketched out and accepted. Nick DeCario is already knitting those separate scenarios into one major book. I've already got an editor lined up for the new material, and I'm working on it. So we're trying to get a really quick turnaround on that second project. And if we once we cross that goal, it'll be a third PDF for Dark Seas of Infinity. So for $30, you're getting a lot of material. You're literally getting probably enough scenarios to keep your group entertained for 2 or 3 years.
And some books cost you get one book for $30 on a PDF. I mean, you still have to do all the layout, you still have to do all the things. It's not like, oh well, we're giving this to you for free. Like somebody still has to do all that stuff. Like that's
Right,
still a
right,
thing that you need to pay for. Like it's not like, oh
right,
well, I get it free from here. And it's like, yeah, well they're eating the cost on the other end. Like, but somebody's still doing all that work.
right.
And $60 gets you the hardcover, not the hardcover,
Or a physical copy of
physical
the
copy along with the PDF. So like $60 for a book is not, and you're not even just getting one book. You're getting whatever gets unlocked plus all the PDFs. Um,
Yeah,
and
everybody was asking, well, why are you going to do add-ons for the other physical copies? And I'd explain no. And the reason not is because the main book we're going to finish updating pretty quickly because it's already laid out, it's already written. We just have to update it. The other books, it's like new material. We have to commission art. We have to do initial layout. That's going to take a lot longer.
yeah,
So sure, if we let you order physical copies of all three, you wouldn't be getting those rewards for 2 years. Um, Possibly. We're trying to do a very quick turnaround with both of these, but this will allow us to reprint the initial book and then deliver those PDFs when they're ready,
right.
instead of having people wait until everything is done and then pay this huge shipping cost to get several books.
Hmm.
So we're trying to keep an eye on timetable, weight, budget, and delivery time, which we're always trying to improve. We're never as successful as we want to be, and sometimes we utterly fail. But we keep trying, and we're transparent, and our fan base is incredibly understanding and forgiving, and we're very grateful for that.
Well, and you're excellent at communication. I mean, last year
Until you
aside,
want
right?
me to
That's a
shut up.
different. Well, yeah, but like the Invictus book, it stretched out a little bit, but the communication was there. You guys have never failed to deliver a product. I mean, there are Kickstarters that and RPG Kickstarters that people just fuck off and you don't get anything. So like I mean, you guys are solid, right? Like, and it's for me it's different because like not only do I know you, but like just interviewing a lot of designers, creators, like there's a different understanding of the process than like I pledged my $30. Where's my stuff at, right?
Mhm.
So I don't like I never worry about that. Like, oh, it's a year later or whatever. Like that's fine. I know I'm gonna get a quality book when it's done, and I'd rather have it done right than just be like, well, here's the
Of course.
thing. Be
There-
quiet.
Yeah, there's no point if you're not going to do the best you can do. If you're just going for good enough, then how do you live with yourself? I take a lot of pride in what I do, and I want to keep doing it. Like I want to keep going to cons and running for the public and producing projects. And I know that if I, like you say, if I just take the money and fuck off, I'm dead in this community. They'll never trust me again. They will never. It'll be the last thing Golden Goblin Press ever does.
Right.
And it's a small publishing house. We're not rolling in dough, but I'm proud of what we've done. I'm proud of the legacy we've created. I'm very grateful for the fans who've supported us. And I don't want to let them down, or destroy the legacy we've worked so hard to create.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Um, yeah. I've got nothing. Anything you want to wrap up with? I think we've probably beat this horse, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So again, where the Kickstarter officially ends the last minute of the last day of August. So 11:59 on Saturday. 1 minute to September is the end of the Kickstarter. We are incredibly close to unlocking a second, the third book of the collection, Dark Seas of Infinity. And then there's two stretch goals beyond that already, with additional scenarios and additional articles, which we're really excited about as well. So yeah, if people keep unlocking stretch goals, we'll keep coming up with cool shit to add to the book. But at this point, I'm happy. If we don't unlock another scenario, we've succeeded in what we set out to do. Um, there'll be two books in the collection that we're really happy about, and so I'm happy with the success. But you know, like Anakin Skywalker, I want more.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. For sure.
and most of the backers would agree. Like, no, we want to see this other. I mean, literally, it's three scenarios by any award-winning guys, and if we unlock the stretch goals, you get something from one of the people who made the game what it is today. I was lucky enough to work with Scott very early in my career, and I'm blessed with good mentors. I've worked with Kevin Ross, I've worked with Scott David Anielowski, I've worked with Richard Watts. Before his passing, I worked a lot with Keith Herbert. And I want to do them proud as well. You know, and now I'm the old gray-haired guy giving new authors writing assignments and inviting them to projects, and so that's exciting.
Yeah.
The apprentice has become the master.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, so get out there. I would say back early and often, but it's late. So back late and often, I don't know.
Um, Join the party before closing.
There you go. Before the
You will
pulls your
you will
tab.
you will regret not being part of this. I will tell you, because you're getting a lot for your investment.
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and quality and exceptional. Like you said, bunch of any award winners. It's good stuff. I mean, I had a shelf of Golden Goblin press stuff back there, so
Yeah,
I'm all in.
me too. Um, but also, it's more than that. I mean, we're a small company. Nobody does this really full time. We're all working out of our homes. There's no office, there's no warehouse. We're an international crew. We've got people in Australia, we've got editors in the UK. Um, you know, so it's support your small business, support your small independent creators. I mean, I'm a licensee, but still, I kind of consider myself semi-independent. Um, yeah, I guess. I mean, they do have to approve everything I do, which they're defending their brand. I get it. I totally get it. They're proud of what they have, and they want to make sure that everything that comes out from the licensee is up to snuff and solid and consistent with the quality they've established. And so far, you know, I haven't let them down.
Yeah, no, definitely. Here.
So yes, Island of Ignorance, the third Cthulhu companion. We are literally less than $200 away from unlocking our most exciting stretch goal, and every one after that just makes that stretch goal even better and larger
Mhm.
and more detailed. So yeah, we hope that if you're watching or will be watching before the 31st, that you'll give the Kickstarter a peek. And I
All right.
promise I'm getting a better mic. I know the I know the sound effect. The sound is a little wonky on the video, but you're working with what you have. So I'll be upgrading with some of the Kickstarter money to a much better mic. So if you want to hear me more clearly on all these actual plays, back to Kickstarter.
Nice. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for checking it out. Check out the Kickstarter. Check out Golden Goblin. There's stuff for a sale that's already ready to go over there. We have our Patreon up as well. If you'd like to throw a couple of bucks our way, that's cool. If not, whatever. Nobody making money over here, so
like Keith Urban once said, we've got to enjoy what we're doing because we're not going to make any money at it.
yeah, for sure. Ratings and reviews on iTunes or whatever your podcatcher of choice is, probably helpful. We appreciate it if you do that. And yeah, thanks for checking it out, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.